The wind sighed through the silver-leafed trees as dusk fell over the kingdom of Aldenmere. Deep within the endless forest surrounding the kingdom, there was said to live a princess, not in a castle, but beneath a canopy of moonlight and moss. Her name was Princess Elara, the lost heir of Aldenmere, and though few had seen her, travelers often spoke of a cloaked figure gliding among the trees, her steps soundless, her eyes bright as the stars. Legends whispered that the forest itself had claimed her as one of its own. Elara had been hidden away since infancy, after her parents, King Rowan and Queen Isolde, fell to betrayal within their own court. To protect her, a loyal guardian named Mira the Seer spirited the child away into the Whispering Woods, a place feared by men but beloved by the spirits of nature. There, Elara grew not among nobles, but among the ancient roots and creatures of the wild. She learned the language of birds, the patience of rivers, and the silent strength of trees. The forest became her kingdom long before she understood what a crown truly meant, yet as the years passed, something began to stir beyond the treetops. Aldenmere, once bright and prosperous, had sunk into shadow. A usurper, Lord Malric, ruled the kingdom with cold ambition, draining its beauty for gold and its people for labor. The rivers ran slower, the forests thinned, and the stars above seemed dimmer. Even the forest that shielded Elara could feel the corruption spreading, leaves curling at the edges, streams whispering warnings. The balance of the land was breaking, and Elara could sense the pain like a pulse beneath her feet. One autumn evening, as twilight painted the forest gold and violet, Elara stood by a pool of glassy water. Mira, now old and frail, spoke softly behind her. "The time draws near, my child. You cannot remain hidden forever. The kingdom bleeds, and only its true heart can heal it." Elara's reflection rippled, showing her not as she was cloaked in green and brown, but as a queen, draped in light. Fear and destiny tangled in her chest. "But I am no ruler," she whispered. Mira only smiled, her eyes clouded with visions. "You are the forest's daughter. And the forest does not hide, it endures." That night, as the moon rose full and bright, a strange sound carried through the woods, the echo of hooves, heavy and hurried. A wounded horse stumbled into the glade, its saddle torn, its rider unconscious. Elara rushed forward, heart pounding. The man wore the crest of Aldenmere's royal guard, a sun surrounded by vines. When she pressed her hand to his chest, his lips parted with a name that froze her in place: Princess. "Elara, the kingdom needs you." His voice faded into the cold air, leaving her staring at the stars above, the first messenger from the world she had long forgotten. Dawn broke slowly, spilling pale gold across the forest canopy. The injured soldier still lay beside the pool, his breathing shallow but steady. Elara had tended his wounds through the night, grinding herbs and whispering healing chants learned from the forest spirits. The deer had lingered nearby. The owls had watched in silence, as if the forest itself waited to see what she would do. When the man stirred at last, his eyes fluttered open, revealing the faded blue of a weary soul. "You're real," he breathed, staring at her as though she were a dream. "The forest princess, the stories were true." Elara hesitated. She had grown used to solitude, to the soft conversations of nature, not the harsh weight of human eyes. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. "And why do you seek me?" The man struggled to sit, clutching his side. "Captain Rian of Aldenmere," he rasped. "I was sent to find the rightful heir. The usurper, Lord Malric, hunts for the last blood of the royal line. He fears you, princess. He fears what your return would mean." His words struck her like a storm. The world she had been hidden from for so long was reaching for her once more, and this time, it carried danger and destiny in equal measure. Mira appeared from the shadows of the trees, her staff glowing faintly. "The forest has kept you safe, child," she said, voice both proud and sorrowful. "But safety cannot heal what is broken. The world outside suffers. Your people need hope, and hope wears your name." Elara looked down at her hands, roughened by bark and earth. "How can I face a kingdom I do not know? How can I fight a man I've never seen?" Mira placed a trembling hand on her shoulder. Because the forest knows, and you are its voice. You carry its wisdom, its strength. That is something no crown can teach. That evening, the forest began to change. The wind carried a scent of smoke, faint but undeniable. Somewhere beyond the trees, villages burned. Elara climbed to the top of an ancient oak, and from its branches she could see far across the horizon. In the distance, where once there were fields of gold, black plumes of ash rose into the sky. The kingdom was crying out for her, though it did not know her face. Her heart ached, torn between two worlds, the one that had raised her and the one that awaited her. Under the moon's pale light, Elara made her choice. She wrapped her green cloak tighter around her shoulders and turned to Mira. If I leave, will the forest still protect me? The old seer smiled, her eyes glimmering like starlight. The forest does not end at its roots, my child. It travels with those who listen. With that, Elara stepped beyond the ancient boundary where no spirit dared tread. The trees bent slightly, their branches whispering farewell. Behind her, the forest sighed, not in sorrow, but in faith. The princess had answered her calling. The wind carried her name toward the horizon. The journey beyond the forest was harsher than Elara imagined. The moment she stepped beyond the border, the air changed drier, heavier, carrying the bitter scent of ash and metal. Fields that once flourished with golden wheat now lay barren, their soil cracked and lifeless. Villages stood in silence, doors shut tight, as if the people within were too afraid to breathe. Elara's heart ached for every withered tree and silent bird she saw. The whispers of the forest were faint now, distant but not gone, urging her onward like a mother watching her child from afar. Captain Rian guided her carefully through the outskirts of Aldenmere's capital. His strength had returned, though his eyes carried deep sorrow. The people remember your parents, he murmured as they rode through a valley littered with abandoned carts. King Rowan ruled with mercy. Queen Isolde healed the sick herself. But Malric has poisoned the land in spirit and soil alike. Elara watched smoke curling from the chimneys of a mining camp in the distance, her cloak drawn close to hide her face. He fears me, she said quietly. Then he knows what he has done cannot stand. As night fell, they sought shelter in the ruins of an old chapel. The walls were crumbling, but the stained glass still glowed faintly with color whenever the moonlight touched it, remnants of a better time. There, Rian lit a small fire, and Elara traced her fingers along the cracked stone floor. I feel it, she whispered. The land is dying. The forest warned me of this sickness. Her voice trembled. If the kingdom falls completely, even the spirits will fade. Rian looked up at her, his expression resolute. Then we fight for it, not as soldiers, but as believers. Before dawn, a sound shattered the stillness, distant hoofbeats, growing louder. Rian doused the fire, his hand on his sword. Malric's patrols, he hissed. Elara's pulse quickened. They slipped out through the side of the chapel, moving through fog and silence. Yet fate was not kind. A band of armored men emerged from the mist, their torches casting orange light over the ruins. At their head rode a woman with silver armor and eyes like ice. By order of Lord Malric, she called, her voice cutting through the dark. No traveler may pass these lands without inspection. Her gaze fell on Elara and lingered. You! Remove your hood. Elara froze. Rian's hand tightened around his sword, but before he could move, the woman drew hers. The soldiers circled. The forest's whispers grew louder in Elara's mind run. She stepped back, her breath coming fast. I am no threat, she said calmly, though her heart pounded. The woman's eyes narrowed. No threat wears the crest of Aldenmere on her pendant. Her sword flashed toward Elara's chest, but before it could strike, a sudden gust of wind roared through the ruins, scattering ash and embers. The torches died at once. When the soldiers blinked through the darkness, the princess was gone, swallowed by the shadows of her forest once more. Elara and Captain Rian fled into the wilderness, guided by the faint whispers of the forest that still lingered in her mind. The night was deep, the air sharp with danger, Yet the trees seemed to shift subtly in their favor, opening paths, dimming torchlight, concealing footprints. By dawn, they reached a hidden valley carved between cliffs. There, Rian led her to a hollow disguised by thorns and moss. "We'll be safe here," he whispered. "This is where the last loyalists gather." He pushed aside the foliage, revealing a narrow tunnel leading underground. Elara followed, heart heavy with anticipation. The tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber lit by lanterns and shimmering crystals embedded in the walls. Dozens of people moved about, soldiers, healers, villagers, all bound by a common cause. The air carried a mix of desperation and defiance. When Elara stepped forward, cloaked and silent, the crowd stilled. A tall woman with a scar across her brow approached, her voice cautious. "Rian, who have you brought?" Rian knelt, his tone reverent. "Our true heir, Princess Elara of Aldenmere." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, disbelief and hope colliding. Elara removed her hood and, for the first time, faced the people who had suffered for her absence. An elderly man stepped forward, a former court scholar, his robes torn, but his eyes bright with recognition. "Those eyes," he murmured. "The queen's light, the king's fire. The forest truly kept you." He knelt, and one by one others followed, bowing before her. Overwhelmed, Elara shook her head. "Please rise. I am no ruler, not yet. But I will fight for this land, as it once fought for me." The chamber erupted in quiet cheers. Yet as she looked around, she noticed something else, strange black vines crawling along the stone walls, pulsing faintly as if alive. They emanated a sickly heat that prickled her skin. "The curse," said the scholar, noticing her gaze. "It began spreading after Malric's coronation. He draws power from it, dark magic stolen from the sacred heart tree." Elara's breath caught. The heart tree was the forest's soul, ancient and eternal. If Malric had corrupted it, the land's suffering made dreadful sense. "Then he's not only ruling through fear," she whispered. "He's poisoning the very source of life." The scholar nodded gravely. "If the heart tree dies, Aldenmere dies with it." Elara turned to Rian. "We'll find it," she vowed. "And we'll restore it, whatever it costs." The journey to the capital was longer than Elara imagined. She crossed valleys bathed in morning dew and climbed hills that glowed with fireflies. At every stop, she helped someone, an old woman with a broken cart, a shepherd whose lamb was lost, a child who had dropped her bread into a river. Each act of kindness made the glass shoes hum softly inside their wrapping, glowing faintly as if in gratitude. When Elara finally reached the city gates, she was struck by its splendor, towers of pearl, streets paved with marble, and gardens that shimmered under lantern light. But the people's faces were tense, their laughter thin. She overheard whispers. "The queen grows ill, the prince will soon have to rule, and whoever wins his heart may save us all." Elara's heart ached, not for the crown, but for the sorrow that lingered in such beauty. At sunset, the palace opened its golden doors. Hundreds of maidens entered, their dresses blazing like jeweled fire. Elara stood in her simple blue gown, feeling invisible. Yet, when she slipped on the glass shoes, the ballroom itself seemed to hush. The crystal floors reflected her every step, and as she moved, the shoes sang not with vanity, but with grace. Prince Aaron noticed. His gaze followed her, curiosity softening into a "we." As they danced, he asked, "Who are you?" "I'm no one of importance," she said, smiling gently. "Just someone who believes kindness can still heal a kingdom." Her words struck something deep in him, something long asleep. For years, he had seen power, wealth, and beauty, but never truth so simple. Yet as the clock neared midnight, a sudden gust of cold wind swept through the hall. The candles flickered out. A strange shadow slid across the floor, a figure cloaked in black. A voice whispered through the darkness, "You cannot choose her." "The shoes belong to me,"